You said recently an interesting thing. You said it was your dream that the eyes of the state can be on you at all times. Now, you were talking about the use of technology in policing, but what do you say to voters that might think that sounds a bit creepy? You know, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is watching you.
Well, I think that my quote should be read in context. I was talking about the fact that given that the prison system has been on the brink of collapse and this government has had to stop the collapse of our prison system, we've obviously brought in changes to sentencing, which will bring in more community sentences. And I think that technology has the potential, the next generation of tagging and other developments, to make sure that actually if somebody is serving a sentence outside of prison, the eyes of the state can still be on that person just as they are on that person when they are in prison. So I think that the quality of punishment, which is necessary when people break our laws, they should rightly be punished. I think it can be just as strong if delivered in the community with technology being used as it is in prison. So I was making a bigger case about how technology, I think, does have the power to unlock effective punishment, whether that's in a prison or outside of a prison.
So you weren't trying to freak people out.
But in addition, I do think that AI and other technology like live facial recognition can transform the way that policing operates. And I will be setting out more proposals in that area as well. But we've seen with the Met, for example, over 1,000 extra arrests made because they've been using live facial recognition. It's important tech that I think can cut crime.
And just very briefly, because we're out of time, the BBC reported a story this week about technology with cases of people filming women.
Well, I think the ability of technology to be used in a way that can harass women, I think it's an ever-changing environment. We've taken action against intimate image abuse on nudification apps. So, you know, we take this stuff very, very seriously. We won't tolerate new modes of technology being used to create more violence against women and girls, more harassment. So I will obviously look at what this case is showing. We've taken action before, we won't hesitate to take action again.
Home Secretary, I know we literally have to let you go because you're off to go and chair that meeting that will decide Andy Burnham's fate. Maybe if it happens quickly, you can text in and tell us what the decision was, but it's always good to have you with us in the studio. Thank you very much indeed, Shabana Mahmood.
Thank you very much for that. Now to the victims waiting months and sometimes years for justice. London has the fastest growing backlog of court cases in England and Wales, according to new figures given to Politics London by the Criminal Bar Association. Our senior reporter Helen Drew has been hearing from some of those impacted.
Christina experienced sustained domestic abuse from her ex-partner over a period of 23 years, including repeated physical violence. A few years ago, he was sentenced to weeks in prison for assaulting her son. He later returned to prison again. The court cases spanned nearly a decade, the longest taking a year to be heard.
In that 12 months, you cannot focus on your life. This takes over your life, especially when it involves children as well. It makes you feel worthless to the point where you can't... Sorry, one moment.
No, take your time.
The toll on your mental health is exhausting, it's exasperating. It drains you from living any quality of life.
The womanstrust is a charity that provides specialist mental health support for women affected by domestic abuse. They see a lot of problems relating to the court's backlog.
You have some women not going through with it because of how they're being treated through the courts, but also because it just takes this long time, and then the perpetrator wins. So I would like to see that every woman that is coming through that process and the system, that is automatically offered emotional support and, with the counselling, therapeutic support before everything starts, and have that support throughout.
Figures given to us by the Criminal Bar Association show nearly 19,000 cases are outstanding in London, with the backlog rising by 24% in the 12 months to September 2025, faster than anywhere else in England and Wales. The Criminal Bar Association told us that the backlog situation had been improving in London, but since Labour came to power, the backlog has started increasing again, blaming factors including caps to sitting days and a decision to use London's courts for cases from elsewhere. There's also a backlog in the family courts. This mother lost full-time care of her child a year ago. She says during the court process her autistic son became suicidal and she sought medical help. Doctors assessed him, discharged him back into her care and did not advise removal. The court made no findings of harm, but he was still taken away. By the time a final decision is made, 15 months will have passed.
It's destabilising for him and exacerbating anxiety that he already has in terms of separation from me. It's something that's continuing for a long period of time, and it could...
With particularly poor performance in London and the South East.
Well, let's talk about the criminal court element of this story. Jason Larty is president of the London Criminal Court Solicitors Association. Jason, welcome to you. Great to have you with us on the programme. So from your experience, what's causing this backlog in court cases? Is it all to do with COVID, or is there a deeper systemic problem?
No, it's deeper. It's years of underfunding to the criminal justice system, years of neglect from the government. We've been chronically underfunded. Lack of investment in all areas, in defence practitioners, in court buildings, in court services such as interpreters, the companies used for external bodies for courts such as the people who transport prisoners to court. Lack of funding in all those areas is what's contributing to these delays.
So take us through how this is impacting on court data.
You're waiting for your defendants and they're not arriving until 2 p.m. And that's...
Why is that? Yeah.
That's because these companies who the governments are outsourcing to those who provide the cheapest service rather than the most efficient service.
So if you don't have a fair justice system, if you don't uphold the ancient tradition of trial by jury, if you close so many courts as the last government did, of course you're going to have an unfair system and a system that isn't going to work. So everything Jason said makes complete sense, and that's why Reform UK will reopen some of these mothballed courts.
Where will they get the money?
If necessary. Look, if you have justice in a country, you cannot scrimp justice. You have to have a fair system. You cannot have people waiting for a trial for years and years and years. Justice delayed is justice denied. So again, another area where both Labour and Conservative completely failed to deal with this. Reform will come up with a better plan to get the courts working again, clear the backlog and make sure that justice is delivered.
I really struggle with that, because the only people here proposing a plan are the government itself. We're doing three things. Major investment, we're sitting record sitting days, investing in legal aid and actually reopening courts here in London. Harrow is reopening in April. I'm going on Monday. Victims. And we're modernising the court. If you're going to get rid
of trial by jury, if you're going to take away...
We're not
Absolutely not. We will defend trial by jury. There will be no reduction in jury trials under a reform government.
You know we're not
Unlike
getting...
Labour that are cutting it back.
Thank you very much for being with us and telling us your perspective. Thank you.